And welcome everybody to another Smart Money Circle update. I'm Adam Sarhan. With me today is John Rodney Varner, who's the Chairman, President, and CEO of Genprex, GNPX. Rodney, thank you so much for coming on the show today. I really appreciate it.
Well, you're quite welcome. Thank you for the opportunity.
So, Rodney, I always like to begin. Can you tell us a little about your background and how you got to where you are today, please?
Yeah, as I mentioned, I'm Chairman, President, and CEO of Genprex. That's a biopharmaceutical company developing gene therapies for cancer. Before becoming involved with Genprex, I practiced business law for over 30 years in Austin, Texas. And I originally became involved with Genprex as an investor when it was founded. I was one of the founders. And unfortunately, a few years later, our initial CEO contracted cancer and had to withdraw from the company. And I was invited to come in as a part-time and temporary CEO while the board searched for a new CEO. That was over 10 years ago, and I am still here as that part-time, or actually I'm not part-time anymore, obviously, but as that CEO. I didn't intend to become a full-time CEO of Genprex or any other company for that matter. I was well established in practicing law in Austin and quite happy with that. And but as I began to work with Genprex, I really became impassioned and committed to Genprex's cause of bringing new therapies to cancer patients, our initial targets being lung cancer. And so I think I came in as a part-time CEO in 2012. And by a few years later, 2015 or 16, I had completely wound down my law practice and become full-time with Genprex. I'm more committed to it now than ever, and this is what I intend to do until we get our drug candidates to market.
I love it. Rodney, what a remarkable story. And I know you've got a lot more to share as well. Let's talk about the company, because I can go in a million different directions here. Cancer is it hits me home very well. I've had people in my family, unfortunately, have lost to cancer. I'm on the board of a breast cancer charity, and I love the cause. I love your mission. I love supporting you and what you're doing. Let's talk about the business, please. Tell us high level what Genprex does, and then some of your competitive advantages.
We're developing leading edge gene therapies that were developed at a leading cancer institution, and researchers there have been working on this project for over a decade. There's a group there for which this is their primary focus, their main focus of research. And we have the technologies licensed from them under exclusive license. The technologies, as I mentioned, are gene therapies for cancer. Our initial target is lung cancer. We have two ongoing clinical trials right now in lung cancer. One that is basically approved by the FDA to start, and we expect to be initiating the first patient in the balance of the year. The technology, again, is leading edge. What it does is we encapsulate the DNA of a tumor suppressor gene into a lipid nanoparticle, and we inject that lipid nanoparticle systemically by IV, so that the nanoparticles carrying the DNA of the cancer-fighting gene travel throughout the bloodstream and attached to cancers. They're taken up by tumors wherever the tumors are found. Thus, this is one of the competitive advantages, is that our drug can be injected systemically and does circulate and find the tumors, as opposed to most other, in fact, all other gene therapies for cancer that I know of must be injected either into the tumor or into the immediate region of the tumor to be effective and to be safe, because all other gene therapies in use for cancer that I'm aware of use a viral delivery system. And viral delivery systems elicit an immune response and can't be used more than once in many patients. And due to the side effects, or the doses are limited to the tumor and the immediate region. So the ability to inject by IV and have the drug circulate throughout the body and attach to tumors is a big competitive advantage. Our gene therapy shows the potential to be applicable to a wide range of cancers, not just lung cancer, potentially other diseases as well. We've expanded our horizon from non-small cell lung cancer, which makes up about 85% of lung cancers, to small cell lung cancer, which makes up about 15%. So we're right now in lung cancer targeting almost the entire market in lung cancer. And we have preclinical research showing that the drug is likely applicable to a range of other cancers besides lung cancer.
Wow, it would be awesome if it happens. Yeah,
Thank
it is
you.
really,
Thank
really,
you.
really great.
We're very excited about it. We think we have a really special technology. I should have also mentioned we have 3 FDA fast track designations for our 3 clinical trials, which we call a Claim 1, a Claim 2, and a Claim 3. We also have an orphan drug designation for a Claim 3. So we interact with the FDA a lot. Our interactions have been favorable as they've awarded these designations to us. You know, we're enjoying their support as we move forward through these clinical trials.
Wow, that is really fantastic. So just to recap to the audience is that you've got a tumor suppressant with the ability to have something go through the entire system, find the tumor and or the cancer cells, and then directly attack them, which is different than most companies that are targeting cancer. They have to be highly localized to either directly impact the tumor and or the region, but yours goes through the whole system and attacks any cancer cells. Is that a good way of summarizing it?
Yes, it attacks. We know that it attacks small cell and non-small cell lung cancer and a number of other cancers.
Wow, that's fantastic. Well, thank you very much for that overview and the excellent description there. Next question for you from a business standpoint, Rodney, how do you handle risk, and what are some mistakes you see people make in business with respect to risk management?
In biotech, there's an extraordinary amount of risk, and there are risks in acquiring the technology to begin with. The technology risks of whether you have the sufficient patent and other intellectual property protections that you need. We strive hard to do that. We spend a great deal of money on our patent and other IP protection. There's manufacturing risk. It's a huge issue in biotech. Most small companies like us contract out their manufacturing. It's perilous because the manufacturers, the small manufacturers that do this work, are often changing hands. The companies are being acquired, merging, and often we wake up to find that we're dealing with different people than we were the day before. And in some cases, the new owners, whoever they may be, just as don't want to continue as part of their business plan serving companies like us, small biotechs. They may have merged with or acquired the new company to service their own needs. and so they may just no longer be in the market. And of course, we're subject to any manufacturing problems that these manufacturers may encounter with the FDA if they're not following good manufacturing practices, which is a body of regulations that manufacturers are required to follow. And then of course there's if you look at it from an investor standpoint, the market risk of investing in shares in the market. So there are a lot of risks, and we work hard to manage them all. And I think the fact that we've made it this far, more than 10 years, indicates that we've had some success managing our risks.
Yeah, no question. Absolutely. The proof is in the pudding, so to speak. How about some timeless lessons you've learned along the way, either in your law practice and or being the CEO now for a decade in a publicly traded company? Any timeless lessons you'd like to share with the audience? We'd say a big please and thank you.
Well, I would say, and this is really applicable to my entire career, I think that one of the most important lessons that anyone starting out should learn is to maintain your integrity. If you're going to be successful for the long term, you have to be respected by those you do business with or would do business with, and they have to trust you to do business. And if you blow that, it's one of those things you really can only blow it once, because it's really hard to get back, if ever. And so I would say, for anyone involved in business or really in life, that's probably the most important one. I think another very important one is perseverance in any endeavor that's worthwhile. One is going to encounter serious obstacles. And if you give up, you'll never succeed. Keeping one foot in front of the other and continuing, even in the worst of times, is key to long-term success.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. Integrity and perseverance are so powerful. So typically I ask this question a little bit later, but I'm going to move it up a little bit because it's on point here. How do you handle adversity, and what are some obstacles you've overcome along your career that you'd like to share with the audience, please?
I follow the path of perseverance as I just described, and yes, I've had many setbacks, both in my career and business, and personally, particularly with my health, that have caused caused me to pause and wonder, sometimes whether I was going to be able to go forward or whether I should go forward. And again, I'm working, and for the last decade, I've been working with Genprex in our battle to bring cancer-fighting drugs to people in serious need. And that motivates me a lot. One reason that it motivates me is that I've had cancer myself. Not long after I took over the helm at Genprex, I was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. It was neuroendocrine cancer, which is of the same type that Steve Jobs died from, and Aretha Franklin. It tends to be a slower acting pancreatic cancer. But nevertheless, can be fatal. Fortunately for me, I had a successful surgery on that and have been free of that cancer for over 10 years. Thank you.
Yeah, that's awesome. One with my heart. So you're actually, so you're a cancer survivor who's running a company that fights cancer. What a story. I mean, Hollywood couldn't make that up. I love that. Okay, timeless lessons, Rodney, you've learned along the way that you'd like to share with the audience, please.
Keep coming back to perseverance. I think, from from a business perspective, uh, and to a large extent in non-business life, I think another is being very careful who you associate with. Your associations do tend to rub off on you, and it kind of goes back to the integrity thing. Uh, Even if you are not doing anything inappropriate, certainly not illegal, those that you the reputations of those you closely associate with will go along with you. It will tend to tarnish your reputation as well. So that's an important piece. I think another is when you get in a position to hire, it's really critical to be very careful who you hire, not only for their reputations, but for their abilities. Do they really have the expertise that you need, and that maybe they claim they have? You need to really look carefully into that, and not rely on the interview or even a few references. You need to really dig into that to make sure they have the expertise that they need, and then also that they have the personality traits that you can work with and your other senior executives can work with. If they don't, they can be brilliant and highly skilled, but if your organization can't get along with them, it doesn't matter.
That's a really good point. That's a really
Yeah,
good.
and I found that if you make a hire that's not a good fit, it takes a long time for that to unravel. It doesn't happen in a week or a few days most of the time. Most of the time it unfolds over months and even years until you see that the person either isn't performing or doesn't have the integrity or doesn't have the personality to be a fit in your company. And over that time, you can lose a lot of progress if they're not working at the level that you hoped they would be.
No, it's really, really, really sage advice. So let's go on the other side of that. Timeless mistakes you've seen people make along the way, and how do you avoid them?
How you avoid them, I don't know, but yeah, there are. The backside of what I just mentioned is hiring. If you don't do well in hiring for your organization, then it's going to be really costly and may well cost you the success of the organization. I think making sure in a company that you have the proper controls in place to not only manage the company's funds, but manage procurement, manage consultants and manufacturers, other third parties that you may deal with, so that you know what they're doing, that they're capable and are doing what they're supposed to do, and that they're performing up to standards. Again, if you don't, people like that can be extremely damaging to your company, despite their best intentions. They may have great intentions, and they may be good at a lot of things, but just not performing for your company. So that's certainly a big item. I think that for companies like ours, we're essentially based on intellectual property, and we spend a ton of money on patent lawyers managing the intellectual property, so that we not only get the most protection that we can get out of for our property, but also take advantage of opportunities that come along, and be able to recognize those and move on them, as quickly as possible.
Yeah, that's really, really powerful. So, next question for you, Rodney. What makes a great leader? And what are some lessons you've learned about leadership that you'd like to share with the audience, please?
I think a really important leadership factor is the ability to empathize with and understand others that you're dealing with, whether they're counterparties to transactions or your employees, your executives, and on down through the company, because you can, as a leader, you can accomplish much more if you understand what the other side is trying to accomplish. And if you can find a way to match your goals with their goals to the greatest possible extent, then instead of fighting that person, you'll be working with that person towards accomplishing a goal. There's an old saying that it doesn't cost anything to be nice.
Yeah.
I think that being nice, being accommodating as you can in your dealings with your counterparties is very important. Obviously, you can't be nice to the point of giving away your goals, and that's a big problem with some people. Some people are governed by the need to be approved by the counterparty as opposed to trying to accomplish their own goals. But so you can't do that. But I think of this many times. When I was practicing law, of course, I had a number of clients, and I think when the phone rang and I answered the phone and I heard the voice, did I want to talk to that person? Am I glad to hear from that person, or am I saying, oh, darn, I got to listen to this guy? And by the way, that was back before we had cell phones that identified them, and before you could just screen them automatically. But I think that it's important if you do a transaction in the business world, if you complete that transaction with everybody on good terms and without having unnecessarily offended or been abrasive or whatever to the other side, then it's going to be a lot easier to do the next transaction with that company. The CEO is not just going to say, well, I don't want to deal with that guy again. Over time, that's very cumulative because people move around. Seems that there seems to be more movement than stability in the business world these days. So I think that's very important. Being strategically focused, identifying your goals, and then sticking with your goals to achieve what you are what you need to achieve is critical. We see too often leaders who identify an outstanding goal and put their forces to work at it, and then before they achieve it, they identify another outstanding goal and shift directions to chase that one, or spread their forces too thin so that they can chase both goals, or more than however many goals there may be. But we see that too often, and I think there's a lot of failure for that reason. Constantly being on the lookout for new challenges and potential liabilities that may come up is also critical, because you can't be complacent that what you've done for the last few years is going to work next year. There may be forces moving against you that you need to be aware of.
I love that. It's so powerful. So, last question for you, Rodney. What is the best piece of advice you'd like to share with the audience or give your 30-year-old self?
I would have to say the combination of those first few points that I gave you. I think those are, in my mind, the most important things towards having a successful career.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Well, Rodney, thank you so much for coming on the show. Investors can learn more by ticker symbols GNPX. They can go to genprex.com. That's GENPREX.com for more information. Rodney, thank you so much for coming on the show, and hopefully we'll see you again soon.
All right. Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity to be here and speak with you.
This is fantastic. Thank you.